I kind of our big topic for today is going to be about retiring in Hawaii. We've got a bunch of slides. Let me kind of go over really quick all the various slides that were submitted to us. I want to kind of put all this together and talk about this topic in general. So really, what I thought about on retiring is, let's talk about maybe some of the best districts on the islands, on our respective islands, that would be good for retirees. Maybe some home features when you talk to people who are retiring. What kind of home features should they think about? Of course, what are the financial considerations? Are the tax implications and things of that nature? And finally, impact on family. Those are the big topics. Let me go through a couple of slides that we're going to kind of loop all together into this one. So we have another Heidi from San Francisco who said, "Hey, what area is better for retirement? Hilo, Ke'au, Hawaii Paradise Park, etc." So there's a question for you, Dylan. Or the other one, this came from Tom. Tom, a member of the Islander Ohana, asked about retirement communities. Are there any 55 plus communities? There's one in Lihue, but it's leasehold properties. Is there anything else? There's another kind of a sample. Here's one, Dan from Mill Valley, who said, "Hey, I want to retire in Hawaii in 5 years. I've got about 10,000 of monthly income. I don't have the money to purchase, but what's the cost range for an oceanfront apartment if I want to get a 1 to 2 bedroom? I'm not a big city guy. I'm a trail runner, so I want some swimming and things. That I'm a former Ironman competitor. So again, this is a combination of the financial aspect combined with a district. And here's someone that wants to they're retired and they want to buy some land on the big island, live off the grid. What about internet access? What about electricity, etc. So there's, again, a sample of the kinds of questions that I've been getting. Tom was also about price brackets. I think we took care of Tom's question earlier offline, but those are basically the kind of setup that we've got. So why don't we do this? Why don't we just kind of have, if you were kind of approached by someone that is retired or will be retiring in Hawaii, either the best districts or home features or finances or impact on family, what kind of advice would you give them? And let's kind of go counterclockwise. Heidi, why don't we start with you? What kind of things would you suggest for if someone was going to be retiring in Maui?
Well, Maui's an amazing place to live, so I think that's incredible. I would definitely recommend spending some time vacationing on Maui prior to making a permanent move like that, just to see which areas you like, which neighborhoods. I mean, what's nice about Maui is there's lots of things to do. There's lots of resources, but it's not a big city. It's really easy to drive around places. It's really easy to park, things like that. There's no 55 and older or 65 and older communities per se, but there tends to be communities and neighborhoods where retirees gravitate towards just because the type of property is just suitable to that type of living. What a lot of people look for are single level homes, something with the view. It's very rare to find a condominium with a garage on Maui. That is extremely rare. You pretty much need to have a single family home to have a garage. And it's also, in looking with clients at residential condominiums, there's not a lot of residential condominiums in the resort areas that don't have any stairs. A lot of these were just built with stairs because they're kind of built on a ridge or built to maximize views. So for some people, that's a consideration. For some people, it's not. But I would say, first step, spend some time on vacation and exploring the areas where you think you'd be interested in being.
Yeah, the stairs are a big thing. You don't kind of every time my parents' home has stairs, and I'm younger than my parents, of course, and I just do not like the idea. I got go up and down this kind of spiral staircase to go. It's really cool looking, but man, I got to go up and down the spiral staircase to go to my bedroom. It's like, man, I wouldn't want a place with a and then if you got like a condo where you have to kind of go up a bunch of stairs to your condo with groceries. No, thank you. No, thank you. Tom pops something in real quick. What's the experience working with Hawaii lenders and retired buyers on fixed income? Why don't we this is going to be a generic question I think that everyone's going to have. So we can hit this one over to you, Scott, and as well. So thank you, Heidi. Is there anything else you want to add to this?
Well, I guess commenting on one of the later questions about oceanfront and kind of finding a rental direct oceanfront, a lot of people that move to Maui and are looking for that have trouble finding it because most of the oceanfront condos, especially kind of in the more affordable to mid-range price points, allow vacation rentals. So most of those owners are going to be doing short-term vacation rentals. They're not going to want to rent to somebody long-term. So there's condos on Maui that allow vacation rentals, and there's condos that don't allow vacation rentals. And it's pretty easy if you just know which ones are which. But for somebody whose dream is to live right on the water, that can be a challenge unless you're looking at the really high end, or I mean, have a really big budget.
Yeah, and Ray has chimed in here on the walking issues. Yeah, walkability, no stairs, walk-in showers, handicap usable, real kitchen. Yes, two broken hips. Yeah, Ray, you are the precursor of everybody else because we're all going to get there one way or another. We're all gonna hit that age thing one way or another. I'm feeling it myself over here on a variety of levels. Scott, what's your advice for retirees? A retiree comes to you in the either district or finances. Maybe you touch on lenders. What would you kind of say things that retirees should be looking out for?
I mean, districts to me come down to the lifestyle that you want. Do you want to be in the country? Do you want to be in the city? And is there a healthcare component that comes with it? If there's health issues and health needs, we obviously have to address that. And the further away you are from hospitals or the specialists and whatnot, that may be something that you're having to think about. If not, if everything's okay for now or whatever, you don't need that. It's not as important. You could live out on the North Shore and be in the country and live a quieter, kind of lifestyle if that's what you want. So district wise, I feel like it's a lifestyle thing. And part of that lifestyle is taking in, assessing all the needs from the healthcare side as well. As far as the impact, the home features, usually it's the single level bedroom, bathroom on the bottom floor. Or, here on Oahu, you say, okay, I go into a condo high rise where I'm taking an elevator. I'm not really dealing with stairs. That could be a component. And then on the financial considerations, it's interesting if you're retiring here, especially on Oahu, our property taxes are some of the lowest in the country. It's 3.5 cents per every $1,000 of assessed value. People shake their head when they see what our property tax bill is per year for owner occupants. So if you can afford the housing, the pros are if you can pay cash for the housing, which is the biggest expense that you're going to have when you're coming here, then you can actually live here relatively modestly because things like property taxes aren't that expensive. And I still remember I have this surfboard and it says on the bottom of it, thank God all rides are free. Our weather is so moderate and the temperature is so consistent. And you can do so many things outdoors for free and live a very active lifestyle that from the financial standpoint, the housing component is the biggest thing, but you can offset that with a lot of other things. You don't need sweaters and other stuff like that. You need board shorts, t-shirts, and a flip-flop or rubber slippers, and that's about it. So you can even save on the clothing, right? Yeah, that's kind of it on that side. The other con would be distance from family. That's the one big component is you are living out here in the middle of the Pacific. So if family is important, then do you have that draw, to be back towards family?
Yeah, those are big components, and we've kind of, and that one's again, that's really depending. There's not much you could do about that in terms of, moving out to Hawaii, but it's something that you have to take into account. Yeah, Ray is like, growing old is not for sissies, but it can be fun. Absolutely. We chose Oahu because of the great medical care and are getting healthy. Yeah, Ray, I've been really glad to hear that you've been sharing that in the variety of the Islander Ohana conferences that we've been having, and you and your wife are just a great model of that, and it's wonderful to see. JD, Scott found the best for me, so that's awesome, JD. I'm glad that you're here with us and sharing. Let's see, Dylan, what's your response? A lot of retirees on the Big Island that I'm aware of. What's your response to best practices or things of that nature, hot tips for retirees?
So the number one mistake I see retirees make on the Big Island is prioritizing budget and low-cost housing over desired lifestyle. And what I mean by that is you can get pretty low-cost housing on the Big Island. That's one of the advantages is you can get an acre of land and a relatively nice house for 300 to 400,000 if you want to live in a really rural area. But what happens with that is I've seen a lot of times retirees get bored or they feel lonely because they're kind of isolated. They're far away from everything. You know, there is community there, but it's not like where you're in a town like Hilo or Kailua Kona, where you're going to have more activities and gatherings and groups and clubs and things like that. And you're also very far away from the larger, you know, sometimes people just like to go to Target and browse, right? And if that's an hour and a half away, you're not going to do that very often. So that's one thing to really think about is it worth saving the money on the house and giving up those other lifestyle benefits? And like Scott said, I mean, there's so many things to do for free that you can pay more for a house in an area that you want to be at with nicer beaches and nicer parks and things like that. Those rural areas don't necessarily have all of those features. And so sometimes after a couple of years, you know, retirees feel like, well, you know, I need to sell and move to a different area because this doesn't afford me the lifestyle that I desire. So that's just one thing I would say could really think about is think about what your budget is and then what your desired lifestyle is and try and make, you know, find the balance in between, because you don't want to save on budget and then be unhappy. And the other thing I see people do is they buy too much house, right? There's also retirees that, and you know, this is the hard conversation you got to have and really come to a realization. Everybody thinks I need the big house with a ohana or extra area because my kids are going to be here all the time. And then after 2 years, the kids have not come at all, or they've come once, you know. And so do you really need to buy that big house and spend extra money, or maybe just rent a big house for 2 weeks, once a year, once every 2 years, you know, when your family comes to visit and they don't have to be in your house. So that's one way you can save money and put more money towards area versus size of home, and kind of think about that strategically. So I hate to break it to you, but your kids are not going to visit you as often as you think they are. That's almost 100% of the time I get that feedback from people who retire here.
Yeah, those are some really good points. Really good points. Certainly, the size of the house. I think that's one thing that you really got to, you know. I mean, you know, my wife and I are having these conversations now as our kids have grown up and they've moved out, and you know, we're like, now we've got this home that was built for, you know, for a family of 4 or 5, and now it's 2, and we're like, you know what, this may not be the place for us.
I was having this conversation this week. People were asking me what the average size of a home is. And, you know, it's like 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. I mean, a lot of homes are not bigger than 2,000 square feet. And for someone coming from Ohio or Idaho or Wisconsin, that's a tiny house, because you spend so much of the year inside your house that you need 3,000 square feet. But it's very rare, unless it's a luxury home or, you know, a special built home. It's very rare. I would say, you know, 80% of homes are under 2,000 square feet, definitely on the Big Island, because you don't spend that much time in your house. You don't need that much space.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Scott.
That's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned having moved from the mainland. I remember my parents, when they lived in Shaker Heights in Cleveland, and they used to get those Lake Erie snows, it would just dump. And I came up to the circular driveway, and they had these 4-foot posts with a white post with a red tip on top. And I came in the summertime. I said, what the heck is that? They said, oh, that's where the snowplow needs to see where the driveway is when it's plowing the snow. And so my parents, you know, obviously they'd stay indoors, and they had like 4,000 or 5,000 square feet of home, and there was just the 2 of them. Here, that's one of the biggest things that I've learned is, you know, you come here, our Oahu was built from the urban core outward. So a lot of our inventory, and we had a big boom in the 60s and 70s right after statehood. So a lot of our homes are significantly older, and they're 900 or even 750 square feet to 1,500 square feet. But our weather is so warm all year round that you carry that outdoors. You're going to spend a lot of time out on the back deck, and your home actually can become bigger if you do have a back deck and a little patio space in the yard and things. So not only is your house probably going to be smaller, but you're probably going to be spending more time outdoors here than you would on the mainland.
Yeah, that is an excellent point that doesn't really sink in, no matter how many times you might be told that, it doesn't really sink in until you've maybe been here for at least a little while and you've realized that, yeah, you know, I'm really outside most of the time. Well, Scott, I know that JD's happy because he said, Scott found the best for me condo very close to concert hall, museum, hospital, and a great bus system. Big heart. So JD, this is why you're with the team here, buddy. This is why you're with Dylan and Scott and Heidi. These are some of the best people that you're gonna find with great experiences that